Which fictional character's death made you cry the most? Charlotte from Charlotte's Web. Damn son, I scrolled a long way to find this. I also posted it before finding you down here. Cry brothers. Littlefoot's mom. I'm now at an age where I can imagine my mom dying. Back when I was a kid it didn't affect me because it was unimaginable. I'm in my 30s and still can't watch it without crying like a baby. My daughter wanted to watch it recently and I was a total mess. I would watch this with my mom and she had cancer. I always wondered why she would always cry during that scene, and after a few times of watching she stopped watching it with me. I didn't know she had cancer then. Those fucking dogs from where the red fern grows. It's been over 20 years and I'm still scarred. Are you my brother? We have a family tradition where my dad would read it to us as we started being able to read longer books. We get to the point where we would read a paragraph, and he'd read the rest, then we'd eventually swap pages. I've never really seen my dad cry except reading that book. My brother wailed as they were dying. It's such a good book. But it will always be the first to emotionally scar me and my family. My dad even gave us all a copy for Christmas last year, as well as a flash drive with him reading it out loud. Sherlock Holmes. I first read the stories when I was 12, and was unaware of him dying in the final problem. It hit me like a freight train, and I was seriously sad for a week. The next weekend I went back to the library, discovered one Holmes book I had not yet read, and picked it up despite thinking I know how the story ends, but now I can say I have read it all. That book was The Empty House. I was euphoric and grinning like a lunatic for a week because I had my friend back. You definitely weren't alone. People were pissed that Holmes was killed off, so they made it so that he faked his death and went into hiding. Mama Coco and Coco. I'm 31 and I tear up uncontrollably when her grandson runs up to her and starts singing Remember Me just so she doesn't forget her father. God, that movie made me cry. That scene of Mama Coco holding onto her daughter, Abuelita, during Proud Corazon, was such a bittersweet moment. Chidi Anagonye from The Good Place. Amber from House. Not because I necessarily cared about Amber that much, but its effect on Wilson was crushing. I don't know if Robert Sean Leonard won any awards for that performance, but he should have. I've watched that episode twice. The first time actually completely out of context and still bawled. The second time as part of a full watch of the series on Netflix. Thought I'd be prepared. No. Cried twice as hard. Edit, I mentioned Robert Sean Leonard, but I had a serious oversight, and Dudeka's Amber also deserves strong recognition for her final scenes. I lost my shit when they wake her up for Wilson to say goodbye and she realizes she's gonna die. Ugly crying. So much ugly crying. That whole arc was gut-wrenching. We had no reason to like Amber. We loved House and Wilson, so while the episodes had such great storytelling that you felt their pain, you no longer hated Amber. Philip J. Fry, named for his uncle to carry on his spirit. Seymour used to make me cry the hardest, but after growing up and becoming much closer with my sister, this one gets me more. That was super sad and well done in the episode. Futurama rocked. I am not a gun. Edit, thank you all for the kindness and awards. You stay, I go. No following. Exactly. The Iron Giant always has me tear up. I saw my girl in theaters on my first date, like 5th grade. Our parents dropped us off at the same movie theater and picked us up afterwards, but left us alone to see the movie. I was not prepared for that ending. When he gets stung by the bees trying to get her ring back, and when she falls apart at his funeral because his glasses are missing. I was never so embarrassed to be seen ugly crying in front of someone before or since. There are several fictional characters from books/movies/TV shows that I could list, but that was the first one that hit so hard. Uck geez, the movie was already on VHS when I was a kid, but my mom picked it up because it's got the Home Alone kid in it. None of us were ready. Years later they go and rent Bridge to Terabithia for my little brother. IMDb is now on their list of greatest inventions. If we are being completely honest here, I'm going with Old Yeller. Someone thought it was a good fucking idea to show that movie to a class full of 8-year-olds. Fuck you, Mrs. Hunt. Not really cry, but Theoden's death in the Return of the King film gets me emotional. The dialogue between him and Eowyn is really powerful and the scene is acted out perfectly. I go to my fathers, in whose mighty company I shall not now be ashamed. Nothing greater than complete redemption. Edit. Holy crap, I didn't expect this to blow up. 3 fun facts about Return of the King. First, and only, fantasy film to win Best Picture tied for most Oscar wins with Ben-Hur. Titanic. 11, only movie to ever win every Oscar it was nominated for. 11. Theoden is my favorite minor character in LOTR. His exchange with Gambling after Aragorn goes down the dim-holed road summarizes it for me. G, he leaves because there is no hope. T, he leaves because he must. G, too few have come. We cannot defeat the armies of Mordor. T, no. We cannot. But we will meet them in battle nonetheless. Aragorn is revered as this prophetic figure by the population of Middle-earth. It's his duty to deal with the magical forces of their world. Even Boromir, whose role is the flawed, realistic man, defended Gondor against the might of Mordor for years. That world is beyond Theoden. All he knows is he has a duty to Aragorn, to Gondor, and to the world. He's aware that he isn't the main character, it isn't his fate to save the day, and yet, with no hope of victory, he rides, because it's what is needed. Well, when you think of it that he was old, frail and dying under Saruman's curse and then got a second chance. He brought the besieged of Minas Tirith a much-needed respite. Fought the Oliphants to a standstill. He died a rather glorious death. BT 7274. Protocol 3, protect the pilot. The fields. That campaign was so short and too good. You never felt like you were vulnerable without BT and never invincible with him. The progression and switches in that game felt so natural to me. Henry Blake on MASH. Maze Hughes from FMA. It wasn't his death itself that got me. It was the funeral. It's a terrible day for Rain. When Ben dies on Scrubs. Seen the episode dozens of times. Still gets me. Laverne hit me hard. Or Mrs. Wilk getting infected from cabbage. Or when Dr. Cox freaks out over the death of his patient. God, that show knew how to jerk some tears. Ellie in Up. Thanks for the adventure, now go have a new one. The two siblings from Grave of the Fireflies. I watched a lot of the Studio Ghibli movies with my ex-wife when we were together. We thought it was going to be another cute animated story like the rest. Oh, how wrong we were. Cried so hard. The best movie I've ever seen that I will never watch again. Not technically death, but every character of The Good Place leaving in the last episode. In particular when Eleanor woke up to a bed without Chidi, I was gutted. 45 minutes of ugly crying. It was absolutely perfect. Attacks in the never-ending story, that got me as a youth. Jesus, I'm embarrassed that I had to scroll so far to find this one. Maybe it's a generational thing. Leslie from Bridge to Terabithia. Edit, I'll also add on when I first watched this movie when I was really young. It was the movie that opened my eyes and mind to imagination and wonder. I actually believed in Terabithia. I believed in imagination. I believed. Also, Leslie was the first crush I ever had, LOL. I never saw the movie, but when I read the book I was very not okay for a while after. I started watching the movie on TV knowing nothing about it. I thought it was something similar to Narnia. I don't think I could ever fully accept that Leslie just died. Have never seen it again. Buffy's mom. Mommy? Killed me. I thought of my own mom and lost it. Yeah, that was pretty sudden, and that whole following episode was just empty, dark, and unapologetic. I was used to this goofy action/comedy show and suddenly here's a slice of actual death and trauma. Have fun. Bet you weren't expecting this. Even though it wasn't an on-screen death, I'm gonna say Uncle Iroh's son in Atla, his death broke that man. Tales of Ba Sing Se Man, gets me every time. Musical notes, leaves from the vine, musical notes. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.